So how about if we have the discussion about how you manage your money, how you ensure that you're able to have some insurance. So if you get sick or someone for you gets sick, the result is different. So for this panel, we have a couple of known faces. And can you change the slide, please? And as we go into it, we have Jermaine Deans from JN Bank. We have Hugh Reid from JN Bank. We have Gary Peart from Maybury. And we have singer, event promoter, and someone who has been managing his money well for a number of years, or chairman. Or why you don't think he manages his money well? I'm just saying, is there someone that questions that? Yeah, huh? You're saying? Huh? Oh, everybody is in agreement. Huh? Yes. Our chairman, Orville Shaggy Burrell. So we ask them to take the stage. Please, Jermaine Deans from JN Bank, Hugh Reid from JN Bank, Gary Peart from Maybury, who is our host, and Orville Shaggy Burrell.
Check. Well, I don't know Judy know about my money, but it's all right. Hello, everyone. Pleasure to see you here on a wonderful Saturday. We have these wonderful gentlemen up here, and these are our money people. And this is a very interesting panel. Gary, I'll let you lead it because I don't know nothing about money. Go on.
Well, that's actually the first thing I want to talk about, because he's probably the richest person in the room. And what you find over the years is that people don't like to speak about money. And so what Shaggy has articulated is this implicit bias, for want of a better word, to speak about money, because it's a sad thing, yeah? But the reality is that he has done well. And, the day he starts speaking about how well he has done is when people start to figure, I can be more like Shaggy, not just to sing, but to manage, maintain, and grow my money. So I want to start first by bigging up Shaggy, because what people don't understand, a lot of people, using an analogy, go to the bottom of the music river and see shark down there and come up and tell people a shark is down there. But Shaggy, through this series, is actually coming up here and telling you how you can avoid the shark, and if you want to eat him, how you can cut him, skewer him, eat him, the whole 9 yards, right? So it's amazing for somebody to have seen all of this, because what usually happens is that when they have seen it, they have their money, they leave the country, they go away, and you hope the next person can be as lucky as he was. So the fact that he has taken the time to come back to lead this conference, to let people understand that, hey, it's not just about singing. There are other things out there that you need to protect. Shaggy, big up, respect. So today we're going to speak about a variety of things. We have some leaders in the industry. We're going to start first with the insurance side. We're going to ask you to lead off with that. Then we come to the gospel singer, Jermaine Deans. CEO Jermaine Deans. He's actually a money professional, but that was a gospel singer. And then I'll add a little bit here and there. One of the final things I want to say, they did a poll many years ago. And in developed countries, they asked people to list their top 5 professionals that support them. And in most developed countries with extreme wealth, a financial advisor is either number 1 or number 2. But if you run that poll in Jamaica, some people ask you what a financial advisor is, because most people think they can manage their own money, and unfortunately, they find out that they can't when it's gone. So at this stage, I want to hand over to Hugh. And Hugh, if you can speak about the importance of insurance within this business of entertainment, musicians, etc. Why should anybody be interested in insurance?
Thank you, Gary. Good afternoon. I want to start by painting a picture. Just this week, I was watching cable, And the name of the artist escapes me, but he's a big country and western star.
Kenny Rogers.
No, not Kenny Rogers.
Him dead.
No, he got a stroke. He got a massive stroke. And he was being interviewed on CNN because the stroke left him with something called aphasia. So he can't speak very well. So his wife was with him articulating on the program. Now, many of us, we think about insurance as something that comes to play when we die. But that is not the case. We actually have what is called critical illness insurance, which would have helped this artist. In his case, I think he's so well known, unlike Shaggy, with his investments well put, that he was able to afford the best treatment in the world. Randy Travis, correct. Randy Travis.
Most
Now,
Christian.
unless you are a Randy Travis or a Shaggy or a Bob Marley, a big artist, then you might be able to self-fund. But a lot of artists are not in that category. And you need to think about how you would survive if your income was suddenly cut off because you got a big stroke, or worse yet, if you were called home early, you died, and you have dependents. Now, I like to put it this way. There's an acronym called DIME, D-I-M-E, and if you fall into any of the 4 categories, you need insurance. The D in the DIME stands for death, debt. So if you have debts and anything were to happen to you, then you don't want your beneficiaries, your dependents, your children, your spouse to have to pay those debts. The I stands for income replacement. If you are the main breadwinner, then you need to take care of your dependents if that income goes away because you are no longer around. The M stands for mortgage. A mortgage is the biggest debt that a lot of us will take on, and we therefore need to ensure that, again, if something happens, that mortgage can be paid off and your beneficiaries don't end up having to leave the home because the financial institution has come to recover their investment. And the E stands for education. Many of us have children. We would want those children to be educated. I think it was Nelson Mandela who pointed out that education is the best way to develop oneself. So I could ask for a show of hands, and I'm sure that if I did, but I'm a good host, so I'm not going to do that. If you have insurance, there will be maybe a small sprinkling of hands. And if I asked if you had, if you had adequate insurance,
some hands already go up. So
if you had adequate insurance, a smaller show of hands. So this is something that you need a professional to sit with you. Gary talked about the need for us to utilize professionals. If you are sick, you go to a doctor. So if you need assistance with your financial affairs, don't think that you can handle it on your own, because there are lots of technicalities. And in fact, it's important that you get the right advisor, because you can also go astray if your advisor is not the right advisor. But I don't go down that road, Gary.
Certainly not. But let me put a question to you, because I find people learn better with examples, right? There's a situation the other day where Beanie Man came out and said, you know, his doctor advised him that he can't tour or travel because he had messed up something with his foot, some part of his foot, and he couldn't travel. Is there an insurance for situations like that? I mean, what would you call an insurance if it does exist that could cover that?
Okay, so you do have insurance which is called income replacement.
Income replacement.
It's
And a singer like Shaggy can
isn't that like
qualify?
like a disability insurance?
Yes, it's like disability.
Yeah, because they have
insurance.
that in the state, which I have that, which is a disability insurance that in case something
right.
wrong with you,
Right.
they pay you based on how much your earning is, and
Exactly,
you can set it as that
yes.
to take care of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fairly expensive. But what I want people to realize.
But there are tiers of it, though.
Yes,
I mean,
there are tiers. There are tiers.
I mean, when you say it's expensive, you have to care because sometimes you just scare people that way. There are tiers of it. Is, you know, I mean, if you're having a huge income, then you can go in a little bit more. But there are tiers of it. Maybe it won't cover the whole of what your monthly expenses, but it will cover a good chunk of it depending on how much you put in it. And also, I don't want to cut you, but also please explain to them the tax benefits that come with the insurance to a certain point, if you can.
Well,
Right.
the only thing I would add,
But
though,
I don't want to
it's
jump
not-
on,
No. You see, him can't help himself. You know, we're going to get to him, right? And hopefully, he can talk when we get to him, right? I wouldn't look at it and say it's expensive. It is actually cheap relative to when you get disabled.
Yes.
But
Yes, and there are tax advantages because if you organize your affairs properly, then a lot of these expenses can be treated as tax deductible. And therefore, you're protecting yourself, and at the same time, you're paying less in tax.
yes.
So that's a win-win.
So that's insurance. So I will give you an example, a story, a horrible story. But again, I think it's something that resonates with a lot of people in entertainment, etc. People think the worst thing is death, where insurance is concerned. But there actually is a law in Jamaica that if you go missing, you cannot be legally declared dead until after being missing for 7 years.
After what, sorry?
7 years.
7 years. Okay.
You have to be missing for 7 years to be officially declared dead. And what it means is that it doesn't
Shall I
trigger...
learn them things as I come here now?
Yeah.
Because my thing is in the States, so it's a whole different thing. There's also a death tax.
Yeah, no, we have that here.
Oh, you have that here?
We do.
Yes.
So we'll just get into that point. But the point is that you have to wait 7 years before you're declared legally dead, and the insurance can't pay out until you're dead. So you have another person who think that if you die, you're good, but if you get cancer and you get debilitated, you have to pay for these things. So this is an example of what insurance is about. And the cheapest time to get insurance is when you're not sick, when you're not disabled, etc. So again, it comes back to financial planning. So at this point, I want to introduce the great gospel singer, otherwise known as Jermaine, but by right, Jamaica National's investment guru. I don't know if you can change it up a bit, Jermaine, and explain to people what's the difference between investment and saving. I always hear when you grew up as a little boy in our country, that boy must save your money. But nowadays, use this fancy word, investment. What's the difference?
Good question, Gary. Good afternoon, everyone. Savings, irrespective of where you grew up, is a common terminology. And savings basically and it's used interchangeably, by the way. But in the context of what Gary is posing here and how we're going to explain it is, savings is almost a safety net of funds. Cash, monies that you have put down, maybe in a bank account, money market account, and a money market account is an account that you have at an investment firm. It's not at a bank. It's close to a bank account, but it's not because of the two different entities. I just want to be clear. But it's monies that you have that is close to cash. So if it's not actually cash, it can be converted to cash very quickly. That's more your savings. You're not going to get significant returns on your savings. So that's what savings is. Investment now is when you're looking to invest for the future. So you're making decisions on monies that you have in various forms of investment assets. Let's start with, for example, buying a house. The first house that you'll own, all things being equal, is going to be the house that you're living in, right? It's an investment. Most people don't see the house you own as an investment. They see it as a necessity, but it is an investment. That's one. If you get into other properties that you will own separate from the one that you currently occupy, those are investment properties. That's investment. You can get into the regular form of investment in the financial sector, your stocks, your bonds, mutual funds. You can get into managed accounts. You're getting a bit more exotic. Separate from that, if you don't want to look in that space, you can also have a set of funds. And if you want to invest, there may be a particular company, for example, you may look at Mayberry or Jane.
Definitely Mayberry.
And you have a discussion with Gary over here and said that, all things being equal, depending on the amount of monies that you have or you can collate, meaning a group where you can come together and invest in equity. It can be private equity, where you buy into a part of a company, public equity on the stock exchange. But on the private side, most persons think that you have to go to school, have an MBA, go through the run to own a company. No. Every single day, what is open for business is that companies are there and they all need capital to grow. You can provide an avenue of capital for these companies to grow. You just have to think outside the box, right? That's investment.
And it doesn't have to make them know, because when people hear say that them have to invest in these companies, they probably think it's huge monies.
Exactly.
Right? It doesn't have to be huge amount of money. Right? You can have $100,000 US or 50,000 US or whatever it is that you want to do, and spread that around a number of companies to make it work. So I just want to make that clear, because when they hear that, you just think, what not the money if you invest?
Totally agree.
You probably can. Each person will make sure if they put down a little portion of that, right, and have different portfolios, right? You have your real estate portfolios, you have your investment portfolios, different portfolios that you can put together. So we just want to
Totally agree, Shaggy.
Yeah.
And I'll underscore that point with two things. I should have started out with the first one. When it comes down to saving and investing, right, the rule of thumb is very simple. 1 + 1 = 2. We all know that. You can't spend more than you have or you earn.
You shouldn't.
It's a number one rule.
Well, you say you can, but you shouldn't.
Correct?
Well, both, right? It's the number one rule. And the second rule to investing and saving is not because you're making money today, you're going to be making money tomorrow. As a matter of fact, as night follows day, you will not be making money tomorrow from the traditional sources. That's why you need to invest today and save while you have it. Just to share those two things.
On the real estate part, when you say that a home, for instance, is an
Yes.
investment, I explained that also. We're saying is it an investment? Because some people might look like a necessity for roof or whatever, like you say. But some we say, boy, it's an investment. It's an investment because it actually grows in equity,
Exactly.
right? As the years go by, right? So it's really like money in the bank
100%.
going up. So,
100%.
So just make that clear too.
And, it is a reason why it's called real estate. It's asset, it's real. You can see it, you can touch it. Land is not growing.
Yes.
As one of my teachers taught me, it's not growing. It's finite. It's limited. And you own real estate in the right location at the right time, you will never lose. I mean, you have to also make sure your property is kept up. You're watching what's going on in the surroundings. But real estate, once you have it and you manage it properly in and of yourself, should always benefit you going forward. Benefit you today by providing you a roof and shelter, and benefit you tomorrow because it's an asset that you can sell. Ask persons who are in their 20s and 30s starting out life, you're going to get married, you're going to have kids, you may have a bigger home at that time. And then when you get up in age and you probably don't need that much space and you're downsizing, that's why you get back the cash out of it. You're in a house and you need a roof, don't worry that it's a cost. It's not a cost. You're investing in the house by putting on a new roof, because that investment is going to give you back more pay down the road when you decide to sell it or lease it.
Wicked song, Jermaine, wicked song. So I'm going to put in like 30 seconds, but I'm going to speak about a guy that's here, but tomorrow run off in mouth about ChatGPT. Chris, just put in the IPO price for Amazon and calculate what it is today, and I'll come into you in 5 minutes. So all the numbers actually show most people love real estate. But the historical charts shows that the public equity market in most countries outperform real estate by significant amounts, right? But the same way Jermaine speaks about, you can touch and feel real estate. Some people feel they can't touch and feel equities, and they feel like it's more of a gamble. But the reality is that a stock market is really just a place where companies trade and the value of companies is known to people. And the fact of the matter is that these companies are started by less than 1%, actually less than 0.1% of the people on the planet. There are a few people who have the gift to do this. So the reason I picked on Chris is that he's a serial entrepreneur. He don't get off unless he start a company every week, right? He probably in a bathroom and say, which company? So we don't have the ability, if you don't know Chris personally, he might not come to you and say, brother, put up some money in my company. So what the stock exchange does is that when Chris's company goes public, you now can buy into that company. You might not have as much money as they do when they start or when where the company is, but you can get a piece of that company based on how small your investment is. And so it creates a lot of value because companies, where they have inflation, etc., if inflation comes, they increase the price of the goods, they make more profit because of that. So I use Amazon because Amazon is a company that a lot of people hear about. And it's a company, I think most of the people that I see here were around when Amazon did their IPO. What was the IPO, Chris? IPO price?
18.
In US dollars, right? What is the price now? What was the peak?
Peak was 138 or 140, something like that.
$140. So over that period of time, you're talking about what I was. I never do me 18 times properly, you know. But make we say at 20, can remember the 20 times, right? That's about 700, 800%. If you had your money in a savings account in a commercial bank in Jamaica, over that same period between Amazon IPO and where they are today, you probably would get to about 25%, give or take, Jermaine. I mean, you're more in that space than I am. So it shows that equity is probably one of the best investments you can make, right? But people can be afraid of it, which is a segue I'm going into to bring in the star of the show.
You should talk about why they're afraid. Because it goes up and down, but stocks are long term.
Right. You see what happens when you bring in somebody into your story, them just want to try to take it over. But Chris is correct. So where I was actually going with that, Chris, to segue, and why I started there is I think it's time to bring in the star of the show, Mr. Chairman himself, Shaggy, who has been exposing his intellect and his intelligence in this area. And the first question I ask him is he seated around a computer every day, which is why I'm here, look that way, right? And him have the 75 bank accounts, and him have the information coming in, so, and him a senior, so. How, you do all that yourself, sir?
The thing that is
It's a yes or no question.
No, no, I am not sitting amongst a computer and all of that. But what I want us to do is explain things that is relatable to some of these people who are artists, who are people that are started out, and some of these people. One thing for sure, I had done it for years where some of you, when you're artists, you're just an artist with just raw talent. You know what I'm saying? You love the music. You love the music so much that you'll actually do it for free, right? That's why you need people around you who crave and want some. That way you say you get them get some, you get some too.
All right.
You know what I mean? It just depends on what percentage of it, and hopefully, if you're an artist, you're getting the lion's share. Some of us are artists that will end up trusting people around it, whether it be the manager or something like that. I'm saying over and over again, managers are not supposed to touch your money. In the proper setup.
I didn't hear that.
In the proper setup, managers are not supposed to touch your money. That is not your manager's job. What you put together is a team. I learned this late in life, right? And when somebody said, why would they manage your money or not? Try actually selling millions of records and come back down to nothing and make it back again. And you didn't make it back, you just make more. Because when you lost, you just lost. Out of you not paying attention and you not being on top of your game, right? I have been there and built back. I'm financially secure, no, but I had to build that back, right? Because I was not smart, I didn't know the game, I didn't learn, which is why I'm doing this whole thing, you know. I don't want nobody ever walk in that footstep that I walk. Not everybody going to be strong as me if you come back out, right? I can tell you that.
So can you give us two things, Shaggy, just to break it down? What are the things you didn't know the first time you ended up in trouble?
Yeah.
And what are the key learnings that you use for the second phase when you made it back?
Team. First thing is team.
Explain that.
Team. You need a team. You have taxes to pay. I'm a U.S. citizen, so everybody know the U.S. taxes you more than anything. I think taxes here is what, 23% or something like that. How much?
25%
25%.
for individuals,
All right.
33% for corporate.
If you over $500,000 you're making in America, you look at what 38%, 40,
Yeah,
45, 40%,
Depending on your deduction.
40%, and depending on the deductions that you have, right? So I'm getting hit big time, right? No, you have to basically realize that nobody is telling you that, well, you have to create expenses. You know, you have somebody who don't know the game, I tell you, say, yo, you have to just buy everything cash. You're not building credit by buying everything cash.
Correct.
I woke up one morning and realized that I had no credit. Zero. Because my credit cards were in someone else's name. Even though I had millions of
Explain that.
In other words, if you had a credit card can be in someone else's name, whether it be a manager or whoever name it is, and you get other cards. Everything, all the points from those cards goes to the manager, not you.
So it's like a man work for a company, but when him travel,
What is your
you
company?
get the personal,
Exactly.
you get the
You
personal
just
points.
don't. Exactly. Which is what I'm telling everybody. They should be on top of these things.
Right.
So I had to get up and rebuild back credit from zero because, and at that point I had a couple of homes, but I bought them cash. I didn't have any deductions, right? So I was paying the government, cutting big checks to the
Yes.
government because there's no deduction, right? These are things until I realized that, okay, I must get a team. When my lawyer spoke about him yesterday, Damian Grandison looked at me and said, hey, nah, you need a business manager, you need an estate planner, right?
Continue.
Your manager is paid by your business manager. You need auditors. Your auditor will audit not just your business manager, but your estate planner and your record company and your publishing company.
So you have backup to the backup to the backup.
Backup to the backup to the backup. No. The main thing I want to tell everybody right now, which going to bother every artist, this is the rough decision to make. You're going to have to make your mind up to give away at least 25 to 30% of your income to support your team. Bottom line.
But Shaggy, if you don't give away that 25%, you might give away 100.
I'm getting that. That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
That is what I'm saying to you. You're going to have to make up your mind because most artists don't like Lego their money, you know. They make.
Shaggy, I don't like that term.
they
Sorry
make
to interrupt you, but don't say you have to give away.
No, when I say give
Say
away,
you have
they don't
to
want to pay.
invest.
They want to invest in themselves.
You have to invest.
All right. Invest in themselves. At the end of the day, you make $100,000. If you say forget $100,000, the manager forget 10% out there. I said, you whole lot thing, yeah. And if you're not investing in your team, you're not incentivizing your team to actually help you grow. So I get to that point where I had to basically make up my mind, which is better than when I ended up setting up myself properly. I was paying less than when I had one person. My manager at the time with me was taking 40%, which is unheard of any artist. And I can say that because it was documented and he put it in the newspaper as if it was something good.
So his fee was greater than the US tax rate.
40%. A 60-40 share.
Nice.
And me like I idiot because I go off of loyalty and love me. I say, yeah man, I'm my youth. And my manager, my lawyer is looking at me like, I'm sorry. When they look at me and say, these contracts are bad and no artist should be giving up 40% of themselves. Right? I look at that as a robbery. And him look at me and I look at him and say, like I idiot. I say, well, me rather somebody will make it with me, help me, rob me, than somebody will not do nothing for me. I'm a lawyer, look at me and say, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. Looked at me in my face and said that.
Yeah,
he
man.
says, listen, we're going to change those contracts. There's good luck because the good thing is that those contracts are all expired. Right? So somebody wasn't doing their paperwork properly. So because if they wanted to, they would have crossed their T's and dot their I's. Right? If you want to do these contracts over, I'll do them, but they have to be done properly. And it can't be the same. And if you can't do that, then I can't be a lawyer. And I was hooked from that point, and I'm with Damian Grandis to this day. Did you just heard about Quality Control selling for $300 million? He's the guy that did that deal, and has done many other deals.
Lovely.
And I started with him he's a Trinidadian. Just Corey yesterday, who was there, is his partner, who's Jamaican, right? It's the only black law firm in the entertainment business. That is a huge one, right? So I stick with them. But that was part, and he helped me put my team together, right? And that is open to anybody here, because if I go to Damian right now and a man comes and say they want to get a team there, he's going to help and guide. And that is what it is about.
So what about the
team.
people who say, boy, I can't afford them high price people?
Well, you go in stages. No, when I say manager don't touch money, maybe you start as a little small man, where you and a man, and at that point, you're like a virgin right now, you have to go collect the money for you and account it out, boom. You get in stage. But as you get bigger, you have to become pro. And as you become pro, you have to structure your business. You go through tiers. So you have a shop, and you're there, so, and you have one person where I do the counter, but other person there also I do the books for you. Mm-hmm. You know that's supposed to be two people, but you can't afford it, so you're the one.
Correct.
But as the shop get bigger, and you start put an awning and you paint it up a little bit
Excellent.
and you expand a little bit, you might hire a little accountant or a bookkeeper, see? And then you move the man who used to do that now to just do that one job there, you create a team. Nobody say you have to start like that, but you can grow as that. At that time, I was selling millions of records. I was the biggest artist in the world. But I had a party shop.
No, parties are a good thing, you know.
They're running a bit. It run like a party shop. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. You have to educate yourself. And I educated myself and learned. But I don't want nobody here to learn as late as I did.
Agreed.
Right? Which is why we're doing this. I'm a wealth of knowledge. Call me anytime. Me have the conversation. Where you get from me is free. I can't tell you that. Right? And where you get from any of these guys, they will sit here and have these conversations. That's why we're doing this.
So one of the biggest things in our industry, and I think Shaggy has been speaking around it, is we trust, but we verify. So, you know, you've chosen the team, and again, I'll ask Shaggy a simple question. He has a team that he trusts, but do you get up once a year, once a week, and like check the things them say you have?
Oh, you mean the inventory?
Yes.
I do inventory every quarter.
Explain what you've just said.
Inventory is basically is this. First of all, every month you should get a report from each one of your entity. And you should look over those reports yourself. Now, the thing for me is I'm incredibly busy. I'm running a record company, right? I'm doing touring. I have a festival I'm starting with me and Sting. I'm touring all over the world. Then I have my family and my kids. So I'm extremely busy. There's no way you're going to actually see every single thing. But it behooves you that all these people that you hire, make sure they're not friends. Okay? Your business manager, it'd be great if him don't like your estate planner. And make sure that my manager and my business manager in a war all the while because my business manager take long for pay him. It was like, I put it in for how long? For last week he hasn't paid me since then. And then drag them foot and the whole of them not get along. And so they fact check each other, right? And get upon each other. Now as soon as a man say, oh, you know what? He didn't do this. Them start helping each other.
Yeah, man.
See? So to me, that's a nice way to do it, right? It might cause a little bit of chaos amongst them, but it's not my business. You know, I'm the boss. You know what I'm saying? And I need it. So you definitely, every month, you get a statement from each one of these entities. And then, at a certain point, you should audit. I think you should audit, right? It'd be nice if you have a company, like with me, you know, I have my business management company, also has an auditing division,
yes,
right? So that comes under my 5% that I give them. You know what I mean? And so I'll audit each entity at that point using them. Then I'll use somebody else to audit them.
Correct.
Which is different from them. You know, because you don't want a conflict of interest also.
Excellent, Shaggy. Excellent. Some people ask the question of due diligence. You know, how do you find these people? Because we've heard stories, you know, I grew up with you. You sound like you know what you talk about, you know. How do you look at a young and upcoming star, you know, and they want to put their team together, but that initial set of people, that due diligence, how do you check whether we're going to go Jay and we're
That's
going to go
easy.
Mayberry?
That's the easiest part. It's called track record. If you're going to a business management company, you're going to one that has been in business for 30 years or 40 years. Why? They're more interested in their reputation than robbing you. So in other words, I'm going to look at the clientele list. My business manager have like Bon Jovi and, you know, all of these big old-time names that has been there. If little me start make too nice and I say, boy, yo, you know, something like get robbed up and ding, they don't want to hear that. Because then the big guys are going to say, oh, wait, I might need to double check some shit here.
Correct.
It doesn't look good on their brand. So go for brands that are big, go for companies and business managers and banks that has long history, right? Been in it for years, and you know, you do your due diligence that these people are reputable people. If you go on Mayberry, I go look on Mayberry and look at a track record and figure out what Mayberry has done over the years before you invest your money. You know, I go with Morgan Stanley. The reason why I'm with Morgan Stanley is if anything happening, me go look on my thing and find some fraud. And fraud is going to happen because we're in a technology kind of life these days. People are going to do it. But Morgan Stanley has insurances. You know what I mean? Morgan Stanley is a company, before me as a famous man start say, you know, say something wrong with my thing. And so they said, Mr. Burrell, could you step inside here, please? We'd like to have a conversation. Seems to me there have been a little bit of a fraud and we don't understand how people are taking care of it. We have some investigation. Here we are. We're prepared to cut you a new check of this amount of money. Matter of fact, we'll compensate you for XYZ, blah, 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 blah. Because it is better for them that they nip it in the bud before it goes public. They don't want to mess their brand up. So to me, that is the easiest part of it.
Thank you. I mean, it looks like we're creating a show. Shaggy and his billions. I like the sound of that. Shaggy's billions. God damn it. All right. I think one of the best ways to learn about money management, insurance, investment management is to ask questions. I see we have 10
Just
minutes
before we get
left.
there, sir, moderator, that's one thing I want yourself,
Is that
well, all three of us to
unruly
touch on, is, so I understand Shaggy's perspective,
Yes.
and a lot of that perspective comes from exposure. Being off the shores of Jamaica, out of the Caribbean, believe it or not, the exposure you get from that. And we here all travel. But quite a number of the persons I'm sure you're trying to reach, Shaggy, with this conference and future to come, are persons who haven't left here much, don't have much education, have boys or their crew that they grew up with, and, you know, let's use the
Entourage.
terms, them boss,
Yes.
have those persons around them because they are the ones that they trust, the word that you use, Gary.
Yes.
How do this segment and this conference reach those individuals to empower them to let them know that they can actually ask the questions that need to be asked? Who do they reach out to? And more importantly, they don't feel like they're stepping outside of their comfort zone to ask questions that they have no idea about how to ask.
Chat GPT. I think the answer to that is pretty simple. We're in the information age. I think if somebody, you know, it's like somebody coming to me nowadays and say, "Boy, I got pregnant," and you know, I didn't know. I mean, in this time and age, that story can't fly. It's all over the place, and so it's similar. But we only have 8 minutes. Them turn on this red number and it'll go all over the place. Let's open for questions because I think the best way to learn how to manage money and the things about money is to answer questions. So, sure, go ahead.
They say 8 minutes. You have 8 more minutes to talk and then it. So you continue.
Oh,
All right.
now you tell me. No, it did look like fire. It red and my countdown to some bomber explode. So let's explore Jermaine's point. You know, so a whole bunch of people. You know, how are they going to know? So I've spent the week. I've seen the ads on a conference like this. It's not just on New Kingston. It's right across the country. Look on the turnout. You know, but the simple reality is, and how I view questions like that, Jermaine, if you are in an ecosystem and you don't try to learn, because that's something I do every day, I try to learn something new every single day. Yes. And if you don't try to learn, you're going to fall victim to somebody who has learned.
Yes.
So, in essence, that's what happened to Shaggy. I mean, he focused on his singing, he fell victim to somebody who had more knowledge than he did and exploited him. But
I differ upon that one there.
again,
I wouldn't say they have more knowledge than it, because in looking at everything going back down, you know, I can respect the man who is going to take advantage of you for benefit himself, but when him a rap from himself too, that's kind of dumb.
agreed. So
You know what I'm saying?
I was trying to be
when you're
diplomatic.
doing things that are just don't make sense, that you're going to also lose with the artist, because it's a partnership. Whether it's a 60-40
never
or a
thought you'd
50-50,
figure it out.
right? It's just them just not smart.
It never thought you'd figure it out. Don't worry about it.
No, it wouldn't be. I don't say it was fair either.
No, that's episode 2 of Shaggy's Billions. We're still finishing 1.
Oh.
All right? Cool. So I think the key point, Jermaine, is that it's about knowledge, and it's one of the things I started the conversation with. There are very few households that speak about finances, financial management in the household. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I find, my top high net worth customers are the only customers that introduce me to their kids. Mm-hmm. And they introduced me to their kids as the man that manages the family's money. Not daddy's money or mommy's money.
So they think about generational wealth.
Correct.
Right. Which is what everybody should be thinking about is generational wealth. Your life done already. Continue.
Agreed. And I mean, I follow on to it. And the only reason people don't think about it, Shaggy, is people ask themselves, and there are two different types of people. You will speak to people and they say, listen, I'm living for myself. They might have 36 kids, but they're living for yourself. So if you're living for yourself, it doesn't matter. They don't need to know, Jermaine, what the right or wrong is. They just live day to day. But if you are a mature, enlightened adult who believes that life is about generational and building generational wealth over time, you have an obligation to not only understand it, but pass that understanding to the next generation, right? And again, as I say, what I see in my ecosystem, it is always that higher net worth individual that picks that up and they make sure their kids. I've seen some of my customers with kids at age 3 that can read a balance sheet. Assets, liabilities, statement of reserves, etc., and have a cogent conversation with you. I have seen them that they make sure they say, Gary, next time you come to dinner, you know, I want you to speak to my son. Right? And I don't want you to go around. I want you to talk to him about certain things. And when you sit and you explain it and they're having a key conversation with you at 8 and 9.
Gary, you see, yesterday I said something that your biggest job is parenting. That is the biggest job for you. That is my biggest job. There's no title of Shaggy or Grammy winner that more than the title of Dad. That is the biggest title to me. And why I say that is this. What you are saying is making to the point that I made yesterday. Every money you get, if I have to live in a little old house and drive an old car and make sure that my kid go to the top school, right, in the world, that is what it is. Because most of the time you send your kids to one of these Ivy League school, it's really not for the education. You can get that online, you know. It's really for the connection, the relationship, the networking, right? And when they are with each other, they think differently. And that's how is the beginning, I would think, of the generational wealth. And if you leave a little thing for them to work with, so be it. Sorry, continue.
Not so, you're correct. I mean, as I said, these are conversations that should happen more frequently in many families. You know, and you know, if it's one of the things, Shaggy, that could come out of this conference is if you can change one person's mindset to be able to speak to the kids. Because as you rightfully say, one kid is going to speak to the next kid. So that's how it works, you know. You go to school and the guy who's the most popular, what are you going to do? You know, people, back in the day I went to camp. I remember the first day we said, well, I'm bound school, go horse racing. Man said, you have exam tomorrow, brother. So I can't go. I'm like, what you talking about? Well, the ethos of the school is that you have to pass the exam. So you realize it's only you and one bound school to do something. The next day, you have to decide, you either want to be a part of the school or you don't want to be a part of the school. Right? So if you have an ecosystem where the conversation is how much man head you're going to bust tomorrow morning, how much duppy you're going to make, believe me, you're going to get an ecosystem of duppy makers. So in spite of all of this, for some strange reason, everything most people work for is money. But the conversation that is least had in the household is money. So hopefully we can change that.
No, there's a question before the final quote. This is very important. We're talking about artists. I see most of the time that most financial institutions don't want to be in business with artists.
Correct.
Please explain why is that and how we can change that narrative.
The biggest, brother, you wait till 140 seconds. The biggest hurdle to a musician is that his greatest asset is what is called an intangible asset. Mm-hmm. And across the world, it's very difficult to put a value on an intangible asset.
Explain the intangible.
So I can use it. So, for example, potential. Mm-hmm. If Bob Marley was alive today and went to a financial institution and said, "Boy, give me a loan against my catalog," he wouldn't get it. Because you can't. There isn't a place to say.
But they're doing that now.
Huh?
They're doing that now. I know people have gotten loans against their catalog.
In the US?
Yes.
And in a lot of instances, it might not necessarily be from a commercial bank. It could be from a private individual.
yes. Well,
It is from
yes,
saying-
I agree,
Because
yes.
the
Yeah.
simple reality, it is very A, difficult to quantify, and B, to monetize. So the fact that
Is it to monetize because you guys don't know how to monetize it? Because in the US, they're doing it.
no, it's not that you don't know. How many times is Shaggy's song going to be played in Jamaica versus Cameroon versus Togo versus United
Well,
States?
there's entities to show you where that is.
There
there's
are some-
there's
there-
data on that.
No, I agree. There's some of that,
Yeah.
right? But what I'm saying to you, in a lot of those instances, it is in a structured environment where you have audited financials, you have numbers you can rely on. They're about the top 5 performers in Jamaica right now. Them don't know how much money they make, so them can't tell me how much it is. So I going to lend against that.
It's a question of risk, Shaggy. The financial institutions perceive that the entertainment industry is higher risk. And
Okay.
therefore, if you have higher risk, you're going to have...
So they're not bankable, that's what you're saying?
Yes.
So how can we change that? That is,
let me
what
add something here.
Yeah.
What I'd say here, due to what Gary's saying, I think it's not if we don't involve this sector as we should. I think if we look at any other sectors, of any of us here, for example, you're not an entertainer, we're just individuals. What we have, and this is how we started out, we have built relationships with the financial institutions. So it's not a one-night thing, a one-day thing.
Correct.
So in this case, if an artist wants to get into relations with a financial entity, Jane or Mayberry, it starts first of all with a conversation. Get to know each other, understand the artist, what they're about, what the setup is, what the financial needs are, put a plan in place in order to you don't just show up at the door and say,
Also due
I am
diligence on the
so-and-so.
artist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I am so-and-so, just burned down a show, I need a loan. It don't work like that. And that's what you have to understand.
Right. And again, I wish we had more time because
Yeah.
I think it's also the next biggest argument, other than speaking about the financial, how we can get...
Well, that's why we're trying to do this every year. We're going to open the floor to some
Sure.
question now. Who is the first?
That's it, Rastafari.
Rastafari.
Bless up
Yes.
everyone that's around, brother and
thanks.
sister. You know, I'm an artist. My name is Ja Peter. I'm in music from 47 years, going 48 years now. 1975, I did my first recording. A music named Silent Zone Rock. I did it with, partner produced with Shorty President. And you know, that music, why I refer, as I said, the partner that you join up with. When that music started to sell, he had the rhythm. And you know, he placed the stamper, for instance, I did it at Randy's. And the stamper didn't cut good. And he went back to cut it. I was working at D&G, trust him. And he placed it was two cut on the rhythm. And he placed the rhythm together. And that was it. After I sell about 500 copies at Randy's, just walk and sell. But the other issue again.
No, was that the question or you just tell me about it?
No, just tell.
Okay, they want the question. What the question?
Well, the question is now, that if the question, everything compare. I had an album that I did 2008, recorded at Tough Camp. Now I give Zojak my album 2011. 2017, I got an email that I due royalty.
Mm-hmm.
I got another email, they got to put it on hold. Mm-hmm. Then I got another one, they terminate my contract, I have nothing more to get.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lawyer, big lawyer too. He was claiming that he was part of it. So everything, so when I usually went to him when I went, I just go to his office and he said to enter. Now, after I carry that complaint to him within Zoja, because I had know about it, he said, he look on his, what do you know his instrument? Look on it, on the internet. And he said, Japita, your album selling big over foreign. You have a lot of money to get. He says on iTunes. When he called him, he said, I need a quick reply. And if I don't get that reply, I'm gonna contest in the court. Well, I already say they just a distributor, they got it from Zojak. Another company again, but I want to cut it short. You know, he said I must go back to the Zojak, which he should be the one because I was the lawyer that paid.
You know, it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
It sounds like to me that, first of all, you say you have a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
But you also need to do an audit on Zojak. You need to find an auditor.
No, what I was saying, no.
For find out where your money there, right, and what you earn. Have you ever gotten a statement from them?
No, what I'm coming to you now.
Yeah.
He said I must check them because I couldn't find the contract. So he should be the one to go to deal with Zojak. He said I must go to Zojak and they give a replacement. They send something through the internet when I write to them, email to them, call agreement. When I bring it to him, he said this is not contract. He gave I 2 phone numbers, which from 2007 he was my lawyer. And listen to 2017, yeah. He said,
you just have to tell me the story.
Well, they give me 2.
I want to hear what you want with the.
No,
what's the question?
What I need to know. Tell
me the question. Because we're running out of time.
No,
and every other people want some more. Yeah.
He gave me 2 phone numbers and said, I must call him back. And until now, when I call him, no answer. I said, don't come back to the office until I call. I got another lawyer. Now I give them 6. Listen to this.
Japita, Japita, beg your favor. Beg your favor, Japita. There are about 12 people that have a question. After we finish, if you can go backstage and tell the rest of the story, would appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, man, come link, man, because that story is long.
Your problems are a little complicated, so we need experts to deal with that, all right?
But like I say, tell the lawyer, say, you need to get an auditor and audit Zojak. That's the best thing you can do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so my question would be for Mr. Jermaine and Shaggy.
Yes, sir.
All right, my name is QSO Global. I'm an artist from Florida. And Shaggy, I like what you did to say, about basically with the artists to be able to, be bankable, right? And Mr. Jermaine, so you have to have detailed plans, right? Because at the end of the day, an artist is like a business. You're an entrepreneur. You are representing something starting out. So what would be that plan for anybody trying to be that person, building a brand, being that entrepreneur?
Is that a question for him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying I like what you said, basically.
No, but he kind of set on the point where you were talking about, so that's why I pointed you.
Respect.
Well, first of all, you have to have a goal. You have to know what it is that you want to achieve. Get a piece of paper and a pen. You don't have to go on a computer and set that out. You are here today. Where do you want to go? Along that journey, there are things that you're going to have to fill in. And you, the individual, have to take the time out to understand who you are, what you want, and what it will take to get there. Once you start that and you have that in place, then you will understand who it is that you need to bring along the way when that is happening. But it's not going to happen if you are not at the center of everything getting done.
Correct.
One boss.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
You did say about having the right people around you. You have to have a manager, you have to have a business manager, and a state manager,
estate
and
planner.
auditors.
Yes, yeah.
That's a very great point.
Yeah, all of that have to work. But you are the boss, you have to remember that. You are the boss. You pay the cost, so you are the boss, right? And sometimes when you're coming up with your friends, to change people or put people in different positions and bring in new people becomes uncomfortable. You have to have that uncomfortable conversation. Just remember, I say one thing to you. You cannot have growth without the uncomfortable. Right. You have to strive for the uncomfortable. If you're comfortable in a situation, you're stagnant, right? So I always strive for the uncomfortable and find my way outside of my comfort zone. And I think everybody should do that.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes, my question is for Mr. Reed. In the intro, you said that you spoke about adequate insurance, but you didn't say what is adequate insurance. What is adequate insurance, sir?
All right. Adequate insurance is something which is adequate for a particular person. So there's really no easy definition that I can give you. Because what is adequate for Shaggy would be inadequate for Gary and vice versa. What is required is for you to sit down with a professional and for that professional to look at your particular set of circumstances and to devise an insurance, an investment plan that will protect you against all the various risks that you have.
And there are many types of insurance also.
There are many
You
types
have to
of
break down the different type, and you have to find what insurance work for you. You know, I personally have multiple insurance. You know, I don't just have one. And it's, you know, you can have, like him was talking about the disability one, you have different types of insurance. And, you know, I'm sure if you had a little bit more time, you could explain them more in detail, but we're a little short on time. Yes, next. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Testing.
Yeah, man, testing.
Stephen Jackson. Hi, fascinating conversation. It's interesting that at the end of the conversation, there was a talk about the inability for artists to basically unlock value. And I know there's a conversation about, you know, trying to move things from tier 3 to tier 1. And my understanding is that the way that a music catalog will be seen on a balance sheet is not even tier 3, but tier 4 or 5. Tier 1 being in like the stock market, tier 2 being like real estate to value assets. And the question is this: is there a way that we can actually unlock, from a local perspective, to unlock the music catalog value in Jamaica? So you might have trading catalogs. It was tried in the early 2000s with a company called C2W, which was listed on the stock exchange. And their mission, which never happened, was to try to monetize music catalogs. The question is now a time that we can actually start to revisit that? Because ultimately, it's not about necessarily just a company making money, but the underlying value is that artists can now actually quantify their assets.
You answer that one, Gary.
Well, the first thing, you know, is that when I'm asking about Mayberry business, these questions are very pointed. So first, I've heard Stephen Jackson from the Gleaner can articulate a question. Yeah, the company went bankrupt. And it's another example of what I was trying to say earlier.
Do you think the model was the right model, though?
It probably wasn't.
Okay.
But again, that's another conversation.
Because I went through it in details and
some things we try to be diplomatic about.
Yeah. Well.
So we will have that conversation. I think how I would answer your question, because I see another legend sitting here, Tony Rebel, right? And you could have done, like, for example, what Tony has done. I mean, he was a singer, still is a singer, sorry. But he was able to use his contacts in the industry and start a simple stage show, which has now become an iconic stage show. And it has become so bankable. I'm willing to tell you, if Tony got up here today and say, you know, for next year's Rebel Salute, I want to raise 100 million, but I give you first choice. I think everybody here would put up money. It's the idea I'm giving, Tony. Right? Simply because of one word. Which Shaggy said before, Rebel Salute is now bankable. Right? So that's the answer to your question. Any structure that, you know, when you dig into it, you determine that it's not bankable, it's not going to do well.
And just so you know that, you know, catalogs are bankable, right? They're bankable in the United States, right? What we need to do is make them bankable here, and why a lot of these institutions are not banking on a lot of them, because if you look at the market share and the sales and the numbers of them, they're down, which is why we're having these conversations to try and make music that doesn't have a ceiling that you can go by, so that these numbers can grow, right? And that these catalogs can become bankable. Here I've seen people selling their catalog for 300 and 400 million.
Didn't Bieber sell him some? Who sell
Bieber
400
sold,
million?
Bieber sold his, but he only sold the publishing side of it. The mastering side is still intact.
Right. Well,
So
it was a 400 million him raised from it. Or
So if he gets 400 million on the publishing side, and remember now, Bieber doesn't write all of his own music.
Right.
So basically, that is split up with that is just his share that he sold. He might have had the lion's share of each song, but he sold his share of it. And it's a relatively short amount of catalog, short years in catalog, compared to when you see Bieber at start until now, compared to like a Sting who sold his publishing side for about 400 million.
Shaggy, next year I have to make the segment 3 hours, brother.
Well,
It's too much thing you need to say.
There's a lot of things.
Take one last
but the
question.
mastering side is also another set of money that it can
You know?
actually do. So it is
Gentlemen.
bankable. We just need to make that happen within reggae music.
I just want to make a quick comment, Gary, as you mentioned the stage show, Rebel Salute, they made alluded to that, is that the financial industry, and Gary will back my peers, we do our part in the background. We probably don't go out and try and get headlines on it, but we actually try to help the industry a lot of ways in the background, and I share something with you because of what Gary said. So the venue, Grizzlies Plantation Co., for example, Jermaine Deans, did the transaction a couple years ago in the background to build that venue so that everybody didn't have a stage show, right? Nobody would know that. It wasn't public knowledge, but it's a financial institution in the background that created that venue for what is happening today. There are other persons in the background that come to us and we do private work on different things that you will see and hear in the future. So we do support the industry. Just wanted to share that.
Thank you. I don't know.
Hold
if
on,
after
Gary.
the
Hold on. Last question.
Oh, my other panelists. I was just about to ask, when this thing got to 0, is there like a reserve tank?
Yeah, man.
Not today.
I've
Go ahead, Chris.
2 quick things to say.
Not even one,
One is
brother.
a comment and one is a question. You were talking about the kids and how artists need to look after the kids, and it's a very good sentiment. Well, I learned something, again, like Shaggy, very late in life. A couple of years ago, I was playing golf with a friend, and I had to go rush off to go buy a birthday present for my daughter. And he said to me, Chris, I stopped buying presents for my children from they were 7 years old. What I do, whatever I was going to spend on the present, I say to them, buy stocks in whatever you like. Well, they ended up buying stocks in companies he had never heard of, but because they're kids, you know that these are the companies that have a long lifespan. That
Correct.
It was incredible. He said they hated him as a father, but they love him today because, they bought Apple,
Yes.
Microsoft, all kind of crazy stocks in
Bored ape.
his mind that he had never heard of. But these are kids who knew what they liked. But they bought McDonald's. So okay, them like some fast food. They bought McDonald's, but they were so they're happy today. Him same 30-year-old son has apartments all over Florida that he used buying stocks. Yeah, he sold stock now to buy apartments. So if you think long term and think the children know what they like and what is probably going to happen in the future. So I've started doing that for my daughter.
Me think your daughter would look a bit better than if you're at present.
I've started doing it. And the truth
Agreed.
is just come up with companies and products that I had never heard of. Never heard of.
Agreed.
The good thing, part 2 is a question. We're talking about bankability of music industry in Jamaica. Jamaica is known for 3 things globally: our natural beauty, our sports, and our music. Yet, every investment, every one of you, because you spoke, Jermaine, you spoke about the venue plan, that's still a real estate transaction. That's a real estate loan. That's not an investment in the music industry.
Get the man
Which one of you?
It wasn't.
No,
Chris, just to
which
point out,
one
Chris,
of you,
Chris,
as an investment house, let me hear the
Okay,
question,
okay.
is willing to create expertise within your organization on the music industry so that you can understand it to make an investment in it? Because I didn't. And I hold up my hand at DB&G. If you came to me with a music, because I did not understand. I didn't.
So let's not
understand the
date
music
you, Chris. You're
industry.
still 36, right? So let's answer the question, right? So I was
turn on
trying.
Sharon.
That's the reason I said to Shaggy, we have to do it 3 hours later, right? Because one of the things I didn't want to get into and they keep hearing me talk about diplomacy. I don't know about these two guys. I can't speak out of school, but in my capacity, we have looked on stuff, and it has all been horror shows. So, like in life, nobody gets up and tells you how much money they lose. They only speak about the things when they're successful, right? I have had situations where I saw Big Mac earlier. Big Mac came to me many years ago to help fund a particular artist going in a certain direction, right? And at the end of the day, I said, boy, let me look at it, etc. And when it was done, the deal he was trying to do, the numbers changed because the artist had a different view, right? So if you are trying to, I cut not coming up because we need to stop. So there are a lot of things within the industry. What I can say to you categorically, there is significant amount of capital waiting to invest. You guys also have a personal responsibility to get things in order. There are people in here where some of your customers, some of your clients complain that them think you rob them. They're not sure how much money they make. A man thinking do a sponsorship for X, but the artists get Y. Come on, guys. The place is replete with all of those stories. So, yes, we're willing to invest, but you also have to come to the table. You hear what Shaggy talk about? Him have a team. Immediately him have a team, he's in less than 10% of the people. Him talk about audit. I'm going to ask you how that spell. What is that? The numbers, the bankability. If Tony come to me, Tony can show me how much revenue he has earned over a period of time. I can bank on that. I can put money up for that, right? So, I didn't want to be doing this, Chris. I didn't want to be doing this, Sharon. But it takes two hands to clap. The financial services industry is ready, but the musicians and the music industry themselves have a lot to come to the table with. Thank you.
They want to know when can we start, Gary. That is what?
Can we start here?
Yes.
More into this project that you have seen here.
Well, I mean, Ms. Burke, the mere fact that, I hear the question.
Are you willing to invest in this project? IMC.
So I don't understand why you said
that. That's a private conversation, That's a private conversation.
You just called me yesterday for the check. And I said it
Yes.
Monday. And you have two financial institutions here on a Saturday.
Exactly.
Well, miss my football
That is
game.
big. Exactly.
And
That
we
is
have
big that they're there
invested.
that Saturday. Go ahead.
JN has invested. You know, that's one thing I can say. We are committed. As a matter of fact, just to share, I would have had a conversation a couple nights ago at the dinner. I think it was Wednesday night with our head of group marketing, and there's some stuff that we are about to look at. Read the industry. I won't say anything else where that is concerned, but we are going to invest, and we have started.
So kudos to Jamaica National. We thank you, gentlemen, for this excellent panel as we've looked at money management, investment, and insurance. Can you give them a round of applause? This has been a fantastic conversation.